I've been working with for quite a while now with organizations as they grapple with the nature of change, not least through the COVID years, where people kind of reappraised what they were doing, why they were doing it, and how it was going for them. So the evolution of teamwork has gone from, I think, what I used to have, which was crowded offices, shared office space, potentially the most disruptive space to work in, and surprising that organizations that refurbish their office suites go for this open plan nature still. While they have little quiet rooms as well, the open plan office is still the way to go. But of course, we know what happened in 2020. And we know that teamwork then went to the home and home office. And those that could work from home, worked from home. Those that couldn't, there was a whole host of other issues that went on there. But home office can take multitudes of sins. It can hide all sorts of things. And you can be who you want to be, where you want to be, even imagining that you're on the beach in the Bahamas, or maybe you actually stand at your desk and do your fitness routine at the same time. Don't quite see it in this picture, but underneath that lady's feet is a treadmill. And she's got the computer on, she's got the TV on, looks as though she's in the UK, something going on British news. It's distraction all round. And the evolution of teamwork also includes sharing your home office with others. Now, we could argue that this is a good approach. This is something that actually helps mental health and helps us get the best out of ourselves. But the evidence is different. Some companies are actually described as work absence managers. It's one of those things that we never used to have, because people would turn up or not, and the absentees wouldn't really be counted as much as they are now. And recent reports by Gallup, and I will be quoting Gallup quite a bit. I use the Gallup Strength Finder and Q12 assessments in the work that I do with people. Recent reports by Gallup have said that while exclusively remote and hybrid workers report higher employee engagement, they actually have higher stress. So the report shows that the stress is a lot higher in people, as perhaps it's caused by a less predictable or more structured workplace. One of the factors that helps us maintain our sense of resilience is this skill and learning how to be adaptable. If anyone's ever done the Clifton Strength Finder, formerly the Gallup Strength Finder, they are one and the same. They call it Clifton now. Adaptability is actually a talent. It turns out I have adaptability at my number one talent, which means I tend not to get too stressed when things don't go the way they might have done, and embrace the way they are going instead. It comes to be a bit of a problem when you have a spouse who also has adaptability at number one, where finding out what to do on a free weekend can be a bit of, I ask you first type of situation. But employee engagement is another crucial factor here. Employee engagement has 3.8 times as much influence on the employee stress as the work location. So leading people in a location of that could stimulate high stress is one issue. But actually, you can lead people in organizations and manage their stress by engaging with them more. And that may sound obvious, but it's actually quite crucial. In other words, what people are experiencing in their everyday work, their feelings of involvement or their enthusiasm matters more in reducing stress while they're doing their work. And we all know that when we are stressed, when the red mist is over our eyes, when we are full of cortisol, we can't possibly be delivering our best. And that level of cortisol stays with us for quite some time before it goes away. So no location can fix poor management, but managing people the right way, leading them through what I'm about to go through with you, the right way, will help enormously. So what's the cost of burnout? The cost of burnout, the World Health Organization, this is a phenomenal figure, job-related stress contributes to about 550 million workdays lost every year. And that's estimated at a whopping $1 trillion lost in productivity each year as a result. And additionally, the burnout leads to disengaged employees who end up costing their employer an average of 34% of their annual salary. I was staggered by those figures, but quite honestly, it's not so much to me about the money, it's about the person who's at the other end of that. I've even had clients, I do one-to-one coaching in this area, and clients actually have said, some of them, that they feel guilty, not because of the work lost or anything, they feel guilty because they didn't quite get to burnout, which is a rather sad state of affairs. So it matters because mental health well-being is crucial to team productivity and overall success. But it also matters very much to the person whose mental health is being affected by the environment. And bizarrely, this is a bit of a gripe of mine, organizations who trigger burnout and mental distress in people, allow them to go off to recover, only to come back into the same environment to do it all again, which is kind of sad. Shouldn't really happen, but we know. So burnout costs not only the money, but we see it in behavior as well. It's an external manifestation of what's going on inside of us. Our psychology is expressed with this disengagement. And engagement is the thing that leaders can do without leading in order to get the best out of their people. The leadership model, carrot and stick, you must have heard about this, is still, believe it or not, practiced in organizations today. And the impact that has on the employees is to stifle innovation and to stifle contribution. I work with other assessments as well, and there's one suite of tools from a company called Human Synergistics. And their suite of tools looks at behavior, how it's expressed from a personal point of view, so I can fill out what I think I'm doing, while others will do a 360. So people will be able to see, I'd be able to see what other people think of me in a truly anonymous way. And
ओके फक मुझे दूसरा बोलना था, ये नहीं बोलना था, उन्होंने उस चीज में मुझे वो कर दिया.
well, okay, someone speaking with a microphone open, that's okay, but please contribute if you're going to do that. Yeah, so some people, when organizations are assessed in this way, there isn't a single organization from any sector anywhere that doesn't want collaborative, considerate ways of working that bring out the best in people. And they want very little passive behavior, which means people don't speak up or they consistently do the same things in a very conservative way. And they certainly don't want the aggressive behavior, which is very powerful, dominating, dictatorial sort of way. The word dictator in Central Europe has awful connotations and people find it extremely insulting. But nevertheless, this is the measurement on this particular assessment. Now, while organizations want lots of considerate, collaborative ways of working that connect with people and bring out the best in them, they find that mostly it's missing. And actually what they're getting is leaders who exhibit high aggressive behavior, and then teams that don't have much aggressive behavior, but have an awful lot of passive behavior, keeping their head down, don't say anything. And it's because this aggressive, this carrot and stick approach, do as I tell you, this is how it's going to work, stifles the conversation. It doesn't allow me to speak up and make a contribution to the discussions that are going on, because I know I'm going to get shut down. And believe you me, all it takes in a meeting where you've got a lot of people around and they're discussing the project, for a leader to look at you when you make a contribution and just go, and you shut down. Your amygdala goes, I'm under attack. My goodness. The cortisol goes up. Really, actually, what you want to do is run away. You want to get out of that meeting room straight away and leave. And for you, the meeting's over. In fact, for everybody, the meeting's over. So this autocratic style is really outdated. And yet, the irony is the people who live it they wear it like a badge of honor. They talk about, well, it got me here. It got me to be the leadership. Why should I change? What we're looking for is something much less command and control and much more collaborative, much more considerate. And there's some things I'm going to share with you shortly about how you can do that. And again, studies that come out from Gallup. So what can you do instead? What can leaders do instead? Well, I call these the principles of empowerment. You empower your people. Now, one of those is trust. I don't know if you recognize this chap in this rubber dinghy that has elements of the Union Jack, British flag on it. This is James Blunt. This is James Blunt at Glastonbury. James Blunt had absolute, I mean, he's a bit of a nutter by all accounts, but he has absolute faith and trusts the audience that when he launched himself in this rubber dinghy to crowd surf, literally, they would take him. And you can see his right arm up and he's giving people direction. He's showing them where he wants to go and the crowd will take him there. And he does this. He's done it before. He's done it. He'll do it again. This is something that is just James Blunt. And trust is vital. Trust is the basis of any good teamwork. And leaders that install trust in their teams get the best results. And you do not install trust in your teams if you're a micromanager. You have to let go. You have to know that your team will support you and your direction as you move through the strategy that you're creating. Without trust, you can't have psychological safety. And without psychological safety, you can't get people to truly get back and have your back and support each other. Now, I'm working with a team at the moment, and one of the things that I gave them to do at the end of the last meeting is fill a brick wall of Post-it notes with a word that sums up their feeling of being in this team. And out on the board, and it was kind of spontaneous, and I did say a memory, but they all chose to do something else. And the three words that came up were openness, honesty, and trust, which was phenomenal. And as the coach that had been coaching this team, I thought, well, this is amazing. Except just after we had that meeting, one of the team members pulled me aside and said, you know what? This, that, this. I asked them, they didn't respond, and actually downloaded all the things that are wrong with the team to me. Now, if there's trust and there's psychological safety in a team, that employee can share that with her colleague and you can get to the point where they can share that in the room in front of everybody else. And I know you can get to that point because I've done it. I was in a team of 15 people where we got to the space where you give each other feedback across the room in front of everybody to the point that you grow as a team. There is nothing hidden, and it's total support when support is asked for and collaboration when you need to work together. So it's wonderful, wonderful place to be. So one of the other principles of empowerment in that is clarity of communication, absolute clear communication and expectations to avoid any confusion. It may surprise you that a whopping 70-something%, maybe 79% of errors created in the workplace go right back to poor communication. Either lack of clarity, lack of purpose, lack of understanding. Somewhere along the line, there's a misalignment on what was said and what was understood. Now, if you've got trust, you can actually go back to the communicator and say, I don't understand that, and have the trust that the communicator will then say, well, let's see what's wrong, where am I not clear, and so on and so forth. And you build up that wonderful relationship of being able to share stuff equally and openly with each other. Just imagine, goodness, that there was a lack of communication or the clarity of communication between you, the passenger, and the pilot flying the plane you're in, led to 79% of errors. That would be catastrophic. In the workplace, it leads to slowing down of projects. It leads to product launches being delayed and that sort of thing. Most of the time, it doesn't lead to loss of life. Although, sadly, in my experience, I have witnessed that. But enough of that. Lack of communication is really, really one of the evils of working with people. What's the other one? What's the other principle of empowerment? Well, feedback and recognition, the SBI model, the situation behavior model. Seeing the good in people is a really useful trait, but also if you do have something to tell people and it isn't necessarily good news, say it in a good way. So the principles here, SBI, stand for situation, behavior, impact, and the W is maybe a wish or a want. If you've never used this model before, try it. In this situation, I witnessed this behavior and it had this impact on me. You can never, ever, ever give feedback to someone from someone else. Please be the feedback giver. Please use this model and please give that feedback to that person as soon as possible. Now, it'd be great, isn't it? In that situation, you were fantastic. I saw this behavior. You were an amazing presenter. It had a really uplifting impact on me. Well, that'd be wonderful. In this situation, the presentation you gave didn't give me enough information that I wanted, and it left me feeling wanting. That's also nice to know. Not good news, but it's nice to know. And it's done in a way that it's not about the person. It's never saying you are a rubbish presenter, because it's not about the person, it's behavior. And the only thing that you can ever give feedback on is the impact on you. That is how it made you feel. That's the only honest thing. You can't say in that meeting, I saw you slam your fist and Susan jumped out of her skin. That's for Susan to say. Can't be doing that. That can't work. So please have a look at this. It's a wonderful model for giving and receiving feedback. And make sure that when you do give and receive feedback, it's nice and clear. It's stated in a way that really helps the person and doesn't hinder them. And it's not about the person. It's about how it made you feel. So how can leaders still lead for fostering well-being in the team? So this slide, unless you know German, it's something to do with, I don't know German. I saw this slide and I thought that looks as though it could be meaningful. Work-life balance. Work-life balance. It's a myth, I'm sorry to say. And you may have a different view on this, and I would love to hear that different view, or stick it in the chat or something. But it is a myth that there is this work-life balance. There is just life. All of it, from when we wake up in the morning to go to work, to come back and go home, go to bed, is life. And sleep is the recuperative bit of that life. So I'd urge you to have a look at the life you're having, and does it support your values and beliefs in a way that helps you thrive? If you find it's a total drain, your well-being is not being supported. Now, what I have to say here is it's not controversial, but it may make you think in a slightly different way. The rate of change, particularly in technology these days, is far exceeding our ability to understand and cope with that rate of change. So things go on way beyond any sort of recognition of knowledge that I have. But what I do know is that artificial intelligence is actually taking away the need to have knowledge. That might be controversial, but as we see AI, the likes of ChatGPT and others, and when you open the door to this, the possibilities are endless. There's so many apps and widgets and goodness knows what that you can tag in. You'll realize that AI has the knowledge. As someone in the coaching industry that has, over the last 10, 12 years, gathered a lot of information, I have been one of those people, along with a lot of people in workplaces, who realize that a lot of my worth is in the knowledge that I hold and how I can share it. And I've heard several times recently, give it away. Just give it away. Doesn't matter. Just give it away. Knowledge is now in the hands of AI. You can just tap, 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 tap. Hey, AI, can you give me a blah, 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 blah? And so long as you're nice and precise with that little codex that you put in, that search, you will find that you will get the most amazing reply back that will make you realize that you don't need the knowledge. Give the knowledge away. What you can't get from AI, and you can ask AI this, as I did when it first came to my attention, AI, what's missing? It's creativity. Humans are far more creative than AI can be at the moment. It's the ability to be adaptable. So your adaptability in the workplace, number one skill in building resilience. And then empathy. In fact, more broadly, emotional intelligence. One of the tools and techniques that I learned about 10 years ago was from a company called Roche Martin, nothing to do with Roche Pharma. Roche Martin, an Australian company who has the 10 elements of emotional intelligence for leaders. And even back then, it was recognized that this so-called soft skill would be important in bringing people in and making sure that you're leading without really needing to do any sort of leadership. Emotional intelligence, a lot of people talk about empathy, standing in their shoes, understanding what it's like for them. But it has so many other elements to it, including being self-aware, self-knowing, self-actualizing. Optimism is also a skill from emotional intelligence. And we can do another assessment there, if you'd like, to have a look at where you are in your emotional intelligence journey and where you could do with improvement, particularly if you are a leader and you want to get the best out of your people, because connecting with people is the thing that's going to differentiate you from the artificial intelligence out there. When people were asked on exits, the reasons behind their departure from any organization, corporate HR officers said that 44% of their employees left because of work-life balance and flexibility as a common factor. Actually, the work-life balance bit is third reason for people leaving organizations. The first one is higher money, more money, bigger salary. And the second one was career development. So they came in at sort of 77, 76%. And then the next reason people left organizations was the work-life balance. So too much demands going on, not enough time getting in front of your people. So these findings indicate that in order to companies and leaders to retain their talent, organizations need to focus on creating environments that allow for that healthy work-life balance. So healthy work-life balance, vitally important for organizations. So strategies for team well-being. Team well-being is where it is. It has to be priority number one. There's a big argument, and again, Gallup have been looking at this, asking whether or not organizations do need to be held responsible for their team well-being. And actually, yeah, they do. They're part of the reason there's an awful lot of stress around. Stress management techniques. I use wonderful techniques from the HeartMath organization, and it focuses largely on breathing. Breathing techniques, we all know how to breathe, or do we? And I can take you through one of those at the moment, in a moment. But before I do that, let me say that Gallup has also found that effective management in the more remote and hybrid post-pandemic workforce involves having meaningful conversations. Now, a meaningful conversation is truly checking in. There are little conversations, those little "how are you" type, very short conversations, where you can be working. I mean, a bit difficult if they're remote or hybrid, but face to face, it would be like go to get a coffee together, or walking across to the canteen for lunch together, or even just having a break outside. I know a lot of these conversations go on in places where smoking is still allowed. So if you're allowed outside to go and have a cigarette, that's kind of the I'm not thinking about work moment, but I can think about me moment. And leaders who engage in that and actually talk to their employees find that they have a higher well-being in those employees than those that don't. Then there's the check-in question. The sort of, is there anything I can do for you? Is there any part of what you're doing that you need help with? Are there any connections that I can make for you? Is there anyone within the company that you feel you could do with connecting with? And these generally employee-led, but the leader can have these chats as well. They're not recorded. They're not structured in any way. They kind of go where you are. The leader's role is partly coach, and any coaches out there will know that you listen at least twice as much as you speak. So you're allowing your employee to give you the information. And then employees that do this and have a 15 to 30-minute conversation with their leader every week realize that not only do they improve the well-being of the employee, but in improving the well-being of the employee, the productivity goes up because the employee is less stressed. And no one can work when they're stressed. The other thing to do is team building. Team building activities, you don't have to raise a barn, but you can team build in small ways. You can even, as I've experienced from one team leader who thought she wasn't doing particularly well as being a team leader, frankly, was extremely good, would have as they say in Switzerland, an after-work gathering, maybe on a Thursday, not a Friday. People want to go home. And in the nice weather, would go, let's go and meet in the park. And if you want to bring a few beers or if you want to bring something else, and the team would contribute and they'd have an out of work together moment, which I think is terrific. So the more you can do of that sort of work, the better. But I mentioned the breathing technique. Now, a lot of people here still got their cameras off, and that's fine. Don't put your camera on if you don't want to put your camera on. But if you would like to join a breathing technique, I'll just do for 2 minutes so you get the sense of it. This is one of those ones that have been highly studied, scientific papers written about it, and more recently has shown to minimize the potential for developing Alzheimer's. Which is kind of crazy, but an awful lot of our situation, our illnesses are there because of poor breathing, and nose breathing is vitally important. I'm kind of lucky sometimes. I think never really thought I was lucky to have a big nose, but maybe now I am. If you do this 20 minutes every day, the studies show it gets rid of the proteins and things in the brain that lead to Alzheimer's. But if you do it 5 minutes, 3 times a day, you will start to have a much more centered experience, and you will build in the resilience and the well-being that you need. I will describe it. If you want to contact me afterwards, there's a slide with my website on it coming up. You can, by all means, get in touch with me, and I'll give you a more thorough breakdown. But essentially, 3 things need to happen. One is you close your eyes because you don't want any visual distractions. Now, I can't see anybody. You can close your eyes. No visual distractions. Then if you're listening to this in the car, open your eyes. Please do not do this if you're listening in the car. If you're on a tram or a train or in your office or at home, fine, be safe. Let's not do this and crash the car. So eyes closed, if you're not driving, and then focus your attention into your chest or heart or chest area. If you can manage to think about your heart, brilliant. If you can't, into your chest area. What happens in this bit is that the thoughts that are going around in your head actually get focused. So you're not thinking about the project that's late or the meeting that's coming up or something like that. And then you breathe. But you breathe in a way that's lower, so down into your diaphragm. And if you've never done that, that's something worth practicing and developing. Your diaphragm is a muscle, so you pull out from your belly. Doesn't look sexy, but it really, really changes the breathing and the heart rate. And you breathe slower than you would normally do. So focus your attention in the area of the heart. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose at a rate that's comfortable for you, but it's slower than you would normally breathe, and it's deeper into the belly than you would normally breathe. And when you practice that, just in 2-3 minutes, you will feel a difference. And if you're doing this and you feel the difference, let me know. I'd be happy to take that on for you and give you a bit more information. But what I'm going to do now is just leave all that. It's been lovely to have you here. I've been Martin Daubney. I work at Inspire Coaching. It's my company. And I realized that my head is now nicely over the title of my book, which is Clear Your Head to Get Ahead. I wonder if I can move that. Oh, look, I can. Floating head. So my name is Martin Daubney. I work for Inspire Coaching in Basel. You can have a look at where I am on inspirecoaching.com. Please do connect with me on LinkedIn and or direct message me, connect through the website. It'd be lovely to talk to you. It'd be lovely to know what you thought of the session. And if there was anything, thank you, Lucy. If there's anything you would like to come back from that, or any information that's been gone on here, let me know and I'll forward it to you. At the end of our session this afternoon, there will be an email, follow-up email that's going out, and everybody's been asked to provide something. You will get the opportunity to have a 72-question stress and wellbeing assessment free of charge with a 20-minute debrief with me to let you know what it's all about. And that will be your baseline. Then we'll talk about the breathing. You practice the breathing, and you can have another go in 6 weeks' time and see if something's changed.